Okay, beautiful Debbie. Welcome to the Abundance Club. It is so wonderful to have you here.
Yeah. I'm so excited because I feel like I've been in the Abundance Club for so long. And it's just a very interesting dynamic that I have been teaching forever. It feels like that that's our inheritance. Abundance is our inheritance.
Yeah.
And it's just accepting it and receiving it. And all of these things that we, especially as women, that push it away are there's an infinite number of those as well. So I'm really excited to talk to you and share with you because I know that you understand this so well. And I'm sure your listeners already, we may say
Mm,
things that they've heard a million times. Maybe they'll hear something differently today,
mm, mm.
but I just love the idea of receiving what our inheritance is. I mean, we all have heard, "Oh my God, I wish I had a rich relative that could leave me money or whatever." We already have the
Yeah.
richest relative. It's called consciousness that is
Yes.
giving it to us every single day, and we're saying nope. And I think, oh, stop saying
Mm.
no because
This is
it's so
such
beautiful.
important. It's such an important
Mhm.
conversation to dive into, and we've spoken a little bit before coming online about really just diving deeper into this conversation because I think quite often we can scratch the surface or we don't tend to want to go into a conversation, particularly as women, a conversation about
Yeah.
money. I love this conversation because money is something that we all, like it or not, we all have a relationship
Yes.
with.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to dive into your wisdom, your phenomenal story. It's
Mhm.
really quite extraordinary. Your book, Your Inner Billionaire, which I'm delighted to be reading at the moment, and it's got so many nuggets. So we're going to get into all of that. Like honestly, there's so much I want to touch on, but I know it's going to flow as it is meant to. So let me start, and then you touched on some really powerful things which I want to come back to around receptivity in terms of abundance. You have quite a phenomenal story, and I think it's really
Mhm.
important to begin there because you speak of making millions and then also losing millions to addiction and then having, facing stage 4 cancer and then ultimately transforming your life around and becoming a teacher of prosperity consciousness, which I love. So I'm interested to know now when you reflect on those moments, which would seem like rock bottom moments. Do
Mhm.
you see them now as those breakdowns, or do you see them as this sacred doorway that you speak of into, let's say, like into who you were always meant to become?
Oh, yeah, every single thing is a doorway. Everything is a portal to where I am today. And the funniest thing I think is I've been teaching abundance for about 30 years. And I used to teach it from a mindset perspective.
Yeah.
And when I got diagnosed with cancer and became, flat on my back, broke on food stamps, I began to see it in a completely different way. And it comes from more of the feminine energy as opposed to the masculine, which is a mindset, figuring it out, analytical process. And then really understanding that so much of what we experience in our lives is through the body, which is where all the feminine energy is located. So I look at everything that I've done in my life, and we can call them traumas because that would be traumatic for a lot of people, but they've all been in service to where I am right now.
Mm,
And interestingly enough, I didn't really realize how important and critical they all were. In retrospect, they all work together for exactly the place that I'm at. And I wanted to just share a little bit about a story that a woman by the name of Sue Morter talks about. She talks about the bus stop conversation. So we all come in here voluntarily, and she uses this metaphor that before we come to this beautiful planet, we sit around at a bus stop and we say, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. I want to learn forgiveness, or I want to learn how to heal people, or whatever version. And generally speaking, we all have to go through the gauntlet to get to whatever the gifts are. I mean, I just don't know many people that do it easily.
mm,
It's just part
mm.
of the deal. And so we sit around and we say, whoever's at the bus stop, raise your hand. Come help me do this process. Some people are going to be very supportive with you. Other people are going to be, oh, I don't know, your triggers. right? We don't want to be triggered. We don't like that part. But those are the people that actually help us grow the most. And so all these people, every single individual that we ever meet, raised their hand at the bus stop and said, I'm going to go and support you and hold your, like, I'm going to make myself cry. I'm going to
Mm,
hold your hand and walk you home,
mm,
because that's all we're doing.
mm,
We're just walking ourselves home together. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that person really is there in the way we want them to support us, but that is the role that we ask them to play.
mm,
So everything that happened, from the attorney who brought me back the cocaine from the teller at the bank to start me on my drug addiction, he chose to do that at the bus stop conversation.
yeah,
Like, it's so
yeah.
fascinating when you look back and say, all of those people were there supporting me in this process, even though I may not have observed it that way.
Mm.
So everything's a portal. Yeah.
Mm. And it's the gift, isn't it, of hindsight and being able to look back. I mean, it's and it's great to remember that when we are in the challenge or when we're in the dark night of the
Yeah.
soul,
Yeah.
right? To see it as I was listening to something that David Guillaume was talking about, the Kabbalistic teacher, and I love his teachings, and he's talking about any challenge that comes up, if you're to say, like, what a gift, like when you're
Yeah.
in it, because you have this deep trust that
Yeah.
everything here that is showing up is for you, right?
Yeah.
Is to help you to ultimately become free. Like, as you said, even your triggers and even those people that are there challenging you are revealing to you where you're not free so that
Right.
you can remember that. And all
Mhm.
of this is about, this beautiful remembrance. I love the way that you refer to money as a consciousness. Let's have this
Mhm.
conversation about money, because I've
Yeah.
even heard you refer to it as like God in motion, and you
Yeah.
mentioned about the feminine energetics, because we've been
Mhm.
so brought up in this paradigm that has taught us, when it comes to wealth, to force and to hustle and control and to chase. So
Mhm.
talk about this incredible paradigm shift when it comes to, I mean, and you wrote a whole book on it, Your Inner Billionaire, reframing wealth as, you spoke about it being inherently ours and a consciousness. So can you speak more about this? I guess for all of us, then it's really a remembrance of
Yeah.
wealth and abundance being who we are rather than
Right.
something that we go and chase.
So in the book, and I've said this for a very, very long time, is money is the most important relationship in our life.
Mm.
And people hear me say that and they go, first of all, is like, nope, that's wrong. Because, oh, I have, a relationship with my parents or with my spouse. And no, no, money is the most important relationship. So here's the reason why. Money is simply energy, energy that shows us a reflection of our value. So if we are not valuing ourselves, we are going to see a reflection of less than what we believe that we deserve, because our brain tells us one thing, but our heart and our beliefs are telling the universe something else. So, because money is integral to every single thing that we do, we have come to believe that somehow this symbol is something other than energy. And energy is simply consciousness, God. So if we look at it from that perspective, if I don't 100% trust in my creation, right, my consciousness, I will have lack and limitation. I will be a victim. I will be in poverty. And so when I say it's the most important relationship, because it touches every area of our lives, and we have been programmed literally from that masculine playbook that we are not valued.
Mm.
One reason is the Industrial Revolution, when everybody started to go to work, and you're clicking a time card. But what you're doing is, we have been imprinted for over 100 years that your value is worth this much. So here's an hourly wage. That's how much you're worth. And
Mm.
if you want to get more than what you're worth, what do you have to do? You have to work harder.
Mm.
So all of this is a very masculine construct. It doesn't mean it's wrong or it's bad. It got us to where we are. But now it's about really understanding that we can create the energetic form of wealth in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be the symbol, because we're very attached to the symbol. which is just paper and digits. I've seen so many people when they begin this process receive things without the actual money, houses, cars, boats,
Mm.
trips, because we get so attached to the worth of a dollar compared to what we desire in our life. And then if we don't have this dollar, then we don't get to have the experience or the feeling that we say we want, which it's completely backwards. We get to experience and be who we desire our lives to express. And when you be that, not do that, be that, it creates that frequency and that resonance that it says to the universe, this is who I am and this is what I choose for you to show me. And it comes back in complete, beautiful form because the universe just conspires to create it. It's like, oh my gosh, look at her. She wants to be this.
Mm.
And that's the frequency that is as emanating from that being. And it just is so beautiful. I always say, if you want to know what you're believing, look at what's happening in your life.
Yeah, yeah. And it's that reflection, isn't it? Because I think also we've been taught to really pedestal money and wealth. And
Mm-hmm.
and that pedestaling keeps it really separate. But what you're saying is this beautiful reframe is like bring the value back into understanding
Right,
who you are,
right.
your worth, and your power. And then money will reflect that. That's what you're saying, right? It's
Exactly.
shifting
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
relationship
right,
dynamic. And I've
right.
heard it spoken to about before, when you speak about this being one of the most important relationships in your life with money, it's like asking yourself, like, how would you treat someone
Yeah.
that you love? And so many of us are needy in that relationship,
Oh
aren't we?
gosh, absolutely. That's what I often say. I have a part in the book called a money date because we need to be able to have a relationship truly with money. It's a relationship at the bottom line with God, with consciousness, with the universe, whatever label we choose to put on that. But that's our relationship with that because that is the energy, not of money, because money is just a symbol. It's our relationship with the wealth that we are inheriting just because we breathe. And so
Mm.
if we have these money dates, we begin to see how we literally are having a relationship with money. And I used the example, like you said, the needy, that if you had somebody that you were just dating recently and they were texting you every 5 minutes, like, how's it going? You want to go out again? Blah, blah, blah. And you're so needy, right? They're going to go flying in another direction.
Mm.
But we also do these things with our relationship with money, and we treat it almost like a monster relationship. Like, you don't do anything for me, there isn't enough, and I don't want to look at you because if I look at you then I'm going to know how awful my circumstances are, or I'm going to avoid that. Or we do that thing where we just don't love it at all. We think it's
Mm.
evil. And all of these stories that we've created around this thing called money is actually how we have a relationship with our creator, with God, with the
Yeah.
universe. And if we do not get to the point where we clearly understand that, that relationship will continue to need actual therapy. Because honestly, if
Yeah.
you don't have that date on a regular basis and communicate with money and talk to it and say, I know and understand how you work, and I want to learn more about that, and I want to express how our relationship with the rest of the world. It's so fascinating how we
Mm.
have compartmentalized it in a way that is so unhealthy, number one. But number two, it's just not the truth of how our relationship with wealth is. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a lie.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And you mentioned that about like God in motion. So speak to then for people that feel like they need to hold on to money or they're worried
Mhm.
about losing money or feeling like they've got to budget every dollar. I mean, and I think also this conversation is really important about the source of our wealth. For so many people, they think it's my job that is the
Right.
source of my wealth. So can you speak a little bit about that?
So the first thing is, when I always say there's one law of wealth, of abundance, and that is circulation.
Yeah.
So if we start with that premise, circulation is just, going around in a circle, just going around, it's flowing. Well, if we hold on, which is what we often do when we feel in lack, right? We're holding on to money so tight, it's like crimping a hose. We not only are cutting off our receiving, but we're also cutting off any ability for us to give more. So the first thing and the first idea that I always share with people is we have to begin to look at this consciousness with trust, because that's another relationship with God, our creator, with consciousness, is we have to learn how to trust. Because if we don't trust that it's going to be coming, then we don't trust, and that is a broken relationship. Imagine you had a partner, and every time they walk through the door said, "You're having an affair. I don't trust you when you go out at night." Right? It's money. Just look at it as a romantic relationship, and it puts it in
Mm.
a whole different
I don't
perspective.
trust you're going to come back, right? When you
Right? You're
go.
not coming back, so I got to hold on to every
Mm.
bit of it.
Mm.
And I love. There's a story in the Bible. I love the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible so much. But the three talents. So the landowner came and gave talents to each of his workers, and one that he gave money to went out and made it work for him. One just spent it, and one buried it. And the one that buried it, this is a biblical teaching. The one that buried it, the guy took his money away from him and said, "You're out," because it's the message, don't hold on.
Yeah.
Because if we hold on, we can't get any more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really beginning to open up to receiving and that trust, and then understand that our value is so much greater than any monetary number. And I have this question, probably the most frequent question that people ask me is, what do I do when I have nothing? Where do I start?
Mm.
Well, you start where you are. You be grateful for where you are. I wrote 2 chapters about gratitude in that book because that's how powerful it is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the gateway to everything.
Mm.
And if you can't be grateful for where you are, one of my first financial teachers was Edwene Gaines. I'm not even sure she's still alive anymore. But she said, "Honey, if God can't trust you with this much money, what makes you think he's going to trust you with a whole bunch more?"
Mm.
Because the
Mm.
fact of the matter is that we don't realize that how we do anything is how we do everything. And so we're going to be the same person then, in the future, as we are now, if we don't change our values and our understandings and our frequencies. One
Mm.
of the things that I did when I was broken, laying in bed with this cancer treatment, and I tell this story, and I think it's really incredible that I even had this insight, but I didn't have any money coming in except for Social Security, because the universe said, "Yeah, I'm going to give you that." I was doing online surveys for $1 to $5. They took about 20 minutes. So that's not really a good hourly wage. But what I know is I was investing in myself. I was telling myself that we were moving in a forward direction, and that I knew and I trusted that this was going to shift. I didn't sit there and go, "Oh my
Mm.
gosh, I don't know if I'm going to make another $5," and sit there and focus on all that I didn't have. I began to focus on what I did have. So those little surveys turned into $20 going and doing secret shopper things because I was sick. I couldn't do anything. Then turned into me taking real estate courses to move to Texas. And, ultimately within 2 years, I made my million back. So yay. It's
Mm.
not about the money though. It was about the trust, the
Yeah.
100% trust that I have in the consciousness that I know is part of me. And that when we begin to open up to that, and I loved when you were sharing on your recent podcast, that it's not like you awaken and then you're awake.
Mm.
You awaken, it's like you come out of a sleep, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, well, now I've got to look at this, and then I've got to look at this." And you start peeling away the layers. And they're so important to know that we've spent a lifetime creating who we are right now. And if we don't become aware, we will continue to be the same person,
Yeah.
repeating the same behaviors and patterns. So when we become aware, that's becoming awake. Then we can actually observe, what is it that serves me? What is it that doesn't serve me? And then begin to go down that path and begin to support ourselves with, as you said, building your own tribes or becoming part of a tribe where you can be
Mm.
supported, because this
Yeah.
isn't a solo journey.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, we're all here walking each other home and we're all here supporting each other. And I just think that it's so beautiful. You mentioned a couple of things that I think are really key in this conversation that you said trust, which I think is, for those who feel like they are starting from scratch. And I
Mhm.
love also that it's a real reminder that you're never too late, that you can start anywhere. This has got nothing to do with the skills that you have, the
Right,
education that you've had,
right.
how you've been brought up, whether you've had prosperity in your family. I mean, I had Mignon Franca on the podcast, and she talks about having nothing, like literally the electricity off, and she had this divine idea from God to bake cupcakes, and then built a $1 million cupcake empire, and had no formal qualification. Did not even know how to bake cupcakes at all, right? I think that that's so beautiful. But you also mentioned, and I think this is so profound in this conversation, knowing and certainty. Right?
Mhm.
Just having that complete knowing that even if I don't know the how this is
Yeah.
going to transpire, and the thing is, we're not meant to know the how, are we? We're being led,
Mhm.
that I can have certainty. And talk to me about how you found that and how that supported you. And I loved also that you mentioned about like the certainty and the gratitude, like just being really grateful. We always have something to be grateful
Oh,
for, even when we feel
always,
like we have nothing.
always.
I
Hmm.
think that
Absolutely.
so how, and what was some of the other, you talk about, some of the holy homework, like some of the actual embodiment and somatic practices that you did when you were in those seemingly rock bottom moments of feeling like you had nothing and you were on food stamps. What were some of the other practices that you embedded in that trust and in that certainty and in that gratitude?
So that was a lot of questions. So I'm going to go
Yeah,
backwards to that one.
sorry.
So I want to speak to feminine energy first,
Mm,
because I have been as masculine as any woman can be. I actually have said many times I'm the best man for the job,
mm,
because they give us, all of us on planet Earth, they've been giving it for 2,000 years, the masculine playbook. Like literally,
yeah.
I think we should have an owner's manual when we come out of the delivery room, but we instead get it, and it's, it's not in writing. We just get the masculine playbook, which means analyze, figure it out, struggle, go hard, and do all of that. So
Mm,
one of the things that happened for me 20 years ago probably was I went to a woman called Sheila Kelly. She has a group called the S Factor, or teaching. And I began to understand about the feminine flow. And I didn't realize at the time that I was still in very much of my masculine energy. And it wasn't really even until a couple of years ago that I was sitting on a beach in Playa del Carmen, and I heard the ocean say to me, "You're here to wake up the feminine on the planet." And I went, "You must be talking to the girl behind me, because I got this whole masculine thing dialed in, because I could do anything, and it's
mm,
was pushing. What I really got clear about is that feminine energy, we have to balance it. And so that also incorporates intuition, which is a very sacred thing for feminine energy, whether you're man or woman.
mm.
And we've been talking about it. Men have been talking about it for years. I have a gut feeling. I have a hunch,
Yeah.
right? It's all this intuition, and women have it naturally, but we have been suppressed from accepting it, because what woman in the C-suite wants to go in and say, "My intuition says," right?
Mm,
She'll be laughed out of there.
mm.
It's getting better,
Yeah,
but
it's
the fact
changing.
is that this is the key ingredient to all of humans, is that we have a direct pipeline. Like that is our communication tool. It's prayer, and we call it meditation, but it's really just listening. So if you begin to literally understand that that is the communication of our higher self, right? We can call it consciousness, God, whatever, but it's us talking to us.
Mm, mm,
And we can only hear it when we're quiet. So we're so busy, we can never hear it. But that's the biggest component to any of this. And as you said, she's a perfect example of just had a download. She's broke, right? She doesn't have the lights on, and she gets this beautiful intuitive download that says, start a business, make some cupcakes. If we were to begin to listen to our intuition, guide us to where we want to go, which is what I do every day. I say I live in the mystery. I don't even know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I used to teach SMART goals. I can't even understand a goal right now because it's very masculine. It
Yeah.
says I need to do something in a defined time. An intention is completely different. And it says, this is my intention, universe. How will we manifest this? How will we support that?
Mm.
How do I have to be in order for
Mm.
that to show up in my life?
Mm. How do we
And you get the
co-create
answer.
it in
Yeah, but we
relationship?
get our answers as long as we listen. We get them every single time.
Yeah, yeah. And that's beautiful what you said, that prayer is the asking and the meditation is the listening.
Receive.
And that's the goal, isn't it? And the practice and the trusting of the mystery. And I think that I have a similar, really, like so much of what you say, Debbie, I so relate to. And I had that same message coming through about you are here to lead the resurgence of the divine feminine in this world, which is probably why you and I are here today chatting, because we're before we've come in, we've gone like, hey, let's meet up and do this
Yep,
podcast interview and we'll
that's right.
remind each other and we'll be here. And I think that this conversation is so needed for women also to just remember how powerful they are as a receiver, as a
Mhm.
receiver of that intuition, as a receiver of those messages that come from beyond the come from beyond the mind. And I'm the same with you with this whole goal setting. It's still coming through the lens and the filter of our mind, which is still going to be in that limited
Right,
paradigm. And we need to be
right,
able to go beyond that and
right.
trust that God, or as you said, our higher self is tapped into the divine plan that we are here to live out. And if we learn to really trust in that, I mean, it
Mhm.
just keeps coming back to that, even when it feels really scary. And you have lived that, right? We get so prepared through the lessons and the
Mhm.
challenges that we move through to be able to just kind of walk through the fire and come out through
Mhm.
the other side. So, how did this then formulate into your book, Your Inner Billionaire? I love this name.
Yeah. I actually did that. The original title, as I was writing it, was Your Inner Millionaire. And then I got an intuitive download that said anybody can be a millionaire. And how, that seems really, I don't know, benign to me.
Mm,
And then the message came is it's the inner billionaire. And the reason that is because it's there to trigger people, number one, to
yeah,
say the inner billionaire. Like that's beyond usually most people's mindset. There's only 700 billionaires in the whole of the United States. So that shows you how not unattainable, but how rarefied air it is.
mm,
So the reason for that is that when I ask people to stretch, it's so that you confuse this mind. This mind is so finite,
yeah,
and our consciousness is so infinite that when we confuse it that way and say, okay, I'm going to be a billionaire, it doesn't even know the how. It can't even comprehend it usually. And that's the part that I want everybody to understand. As you said in a moment ago, we have to let go of the how because we're not in charge of the how. We are in charge of the beingness and our desires. It's not even the what, because we may outline it to the degree that we are then trying to be in charge. I call it micromanaging the universe
mm, mm,
because we do this. We say, okay, I want this and I want that, and I want it in this much time. And if it doesn't happen, then this isn't working, right? This is what I love to hear people say. They're manifesting. It's like, well, you said, some manifesting gurus will say you need to set a timeline and you need to be very
yeah,
specific. And no, 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 no. I'm like, okay, it's more about the feeling. What is the feeling that you want if you had whatever that desire is? And the fact is that it's so interesting that if we get stuck on the how, then we get into our limited mind. And if we stay out of the how, with the expectancy that whatever our desire is being delivered as we speak, and then just say, I'm ready to receive, then it appears out of nowhere in ways we could have never dreamt of,
Mm,
never,
mm,
because
mm.
it's so much more grand and wonderful than our limited mind is. And so when we micromanage it, we make the universe small. It's bad enough that we
Yeah,
as women make ourselves small. We want to make the universe small on top of it. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. I love that. And it is, right? It is always, when you allow it, it's always so much bigger than what your mind could conceive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I often say it's like when we go to a restaurant, we put in an order and then we expect that the order is going to come
Mm,
most of the time. Some people are, not. But if you were to do that in a restaurant, you say, okay, I'd like to get a beautiful spinach salad with whatever dressing you want on it. And the waiter leaves, you expect that they're going to go back into the kitchen and deliver it back out to you. We don't go into the kitchen and say, are you sure you got the odor right? I don't know if you're doing it correctly. I
mm.
would cut the spinach differently. That's what we do as
When's it
humans.
coming? When's it going to be here?
When's it coming?
You might get booted out of the restaurant, right? Like,
Why don't you just drink that nice glass of Chardonnay and relax?
yeah.
But we don't. We're so busy worrying about when it's coming instead of just knowing that it's coming in divine timing. It's coming exactly the way we have vibrated and resonated it. And it shows up in the most delicious ways
Mm.
that are, they're unbelievable sometimes. And we call them miracles when the reality is we are just creating that from our own frequency,
Yeah, yeah,
just our frequency.
yeah, from our consciousness. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a difference between being rich, having a lot of money, and
Mm-hmm.
being abundant, right? So you can
Oh,
have
yes.
people that have got, just because you've got so much wealth
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're abundant. Can you speak to that? Because, I'm sure that you've had people that have got so much and will
Mm-hmm.
still feel that lack and
Yes. Yes.
scarcity,
Yes.
right?
It's amazing because it has nothing to do with that symbol called a dollar or
Yeah.
whatever version of money that you have in a particular country. I was watching a documentary, I don't know, it was probably a couple 3 weeks ago on Justin Bieber. Like people know who Justin Bieber is. And the announcer was saying, now Justin Bieber has made over $1 billion, in his lifetime, and he's broke and he's the most unhappy person on the planet.
Mm,
And I thought, okay, that's just a replica of so many stories that I've heard. I've had so many clients come to me that have that, what we perceive as ultimate wealth, whether it's $1 million, $1 billion, somewhere in between, and they're still scared. Like
mm,
they think that they're going to lose it all. And that is a lack mentality. That's not a prosperity abundance mentality. And if we don't live in that, then we are doomed to feel that energy and whatever that experience looks like. I've been around the world and in third world countries where people are living in shacks
mm.
with dirt floors. And I just love it when I see children outside. They don't have balls, they find a round rock and they
Mm,
have sticks.
mm.
But what I notice is they have so much joy in their life.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. And so, one of the things I always say, especially people that are in the United States, we are just some of the most sad people
Mm,
because we can have so much
mm,
and still think it's not enough and be unhappy.
mm,
And
mm.
that's why when I talk about in the book about gratitude, it's so important to begin there. Everything starts with gratitude because, as you said, you can be grateful for anything. I call it gratitude on the go. I don't write a gratitude list like I have 10 things I'm grateful for today. I go out every day of my life from the moment I wake up when I see the sun streaming in my window. And I think, oh my God, isn't that the most gorgeous thing? It's a prism. It comes through the window. I get up, I'm, making the eggs and spinning them around. And I think, how do I even know how to do that? How is it so beautiful
Mm.
that I have a magnificent body that has learned that process that I just have to go, oh, that's what I'm doing. Like we don't pay attention to how much is unconscious of our behavior, which is beneficial for us. That we don't have to think, how do I drive a car? How do I tie my shoes? How does my heart beat? We take all of that for granted. And then just to appreciate it, I go outside, I walk in nature and think, this is just a beautiful demonstration of abundance.
Mm.
If you want to know how abundance works, go outside. Go where
That's
there's a
the
tree, go where there's flowers, goes where there's an animal. They
yeah.
know how to
Yeah.
live in that abundance.
Yeah.
We have forgotten.
And you only need to look around. And that's the fastest way to raise your frequency, isn't it? And just being in
Yes,
that place of
right.
awe and gratitude. What is the medicine then for people that are feeling the lack and the scarcity, even if, right, no matter what the circumstances are, even if they look around and they have just assets and wealth and money in the bank and they still feel, you've mentioned gratitude, would you be also guiding people to deepen their relationship with the divine, with consciousness, with source?
Yeah.
What kind of
I
journey
think
do you take those people on?
it really is a holistic approach of spirituality and of practicality. Because at the end of the day, we do live in this 3D world. So I love to just be as woo woo as possible. And I'd love to sit on a mountaintop. But the fact is that I honestly probably would be bored because I want to interact with community. And so really getting clear about what is it our greatest desires of feelings are, because I want to go deeper into this conversation about the body and somatic activity, because we have learned over time that our thoughts, because I used to teach this, abundance is a mindset thing, it's a body thing, it's a frequency thing. And all of our emotions, every experience that we have ever had, is downloaded chemically into our body. So when we have an experience, we have these little chemistry sets here. We have no idea how they work, but they're beautiful organisms. And when we have an emotion, there are certain chemical reactions that happen, and then they get downloaded there and they stay there.
Mm.
And then we become addicted to those feelings because we've now sent up to the signal to the AI machine that says, when this happens, we need to feel this way. And so it's a cyclical thing, but it's the body that's actually generating
Yeah.
those feelings. So until we get clear with the fact that our body is housing this thing that we are so addicted to, we have to change that with new feelings. It's all about that frequency, but the frequency comes from emotional feelings. So until you can vibrate, literally feel yourself vibrating with that gratitude, it isn't just like, oh, I'm so happy that I'm going, I have this beautiful car, this house. It's not that kind of gratitude. It's the gratitude that comes up from your toenails all the way up to the top of your head. And you can feel yourself vibrating from the joy that you are having as a experience right here in the moment, that I don't need to be joyful when something happens. I'm joyful right now. So
Mm.
that's part of the first thing that I teach anybody that I'm working with. We have to begin to experience that joy on a regular basis that is self created. It isn't about something out there, because we are the ones that are in charge of it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful and so powerful. And that comes back to our embodiment, doesn't it? Right? Like, and the thing is, I think in life, we are we're continually pulled out of our body up into our mind. And so
Mm-hmm.
many occupy, like, kind of, I talk about, like, live up in this top floor of the
Right.
apartment building, and they're not really getting down. So I think that is so, I've been an embodiment teacher for over 20 years,
Yeah.
so it's just the
Mm-hmm.
importance of being in your body and feeling your feelings, right? The feelings
Yeah.
are the gateway. The feelings are our magnetism. And I think that you
Yeah.
just put that so beautifully. And so much of the approach has been around mindset, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for so long. It has been around thinking your way out of it and changing your mind. And all of that is great, but we need to bring it all online, don't we? We need to
Right.
have that coherence between the body and the heart and the mind as well. So I think
Right.
that is so beautiful. Talk to us about then our wealth wound and the importance of, for each of us, understanding what that might be and changing the dynamics, like changing the narrative of our own money story. Can you speak a little bit about how that influences our reality?
So Yeah, so the money wound, the wealth wound is in the body. It's not up here. Even though we keep replaying some of those thoughts, it's really here. And so I actually was just talking to a woman this afternoon that she says, I had this experience as a young child around money because we didn't have any. And I remember when the bills weren't paid, the people coming to the door to turn off the electricity and, all that trauma that goes around it, because it really is traumatic, especially as a child. So we have all of these experiences, and I say that there are as many money stories as there are DNA. Everybody's money story is their story. And you can be two children in the same household and have two different money story experiences. But we're downloading these money stories from age, from birth to about 8 years old. And they're downloaded into the body with all of those chemicals and those emotions. And so those wounds are continued to be repeated over and over by our experience in the world. And it also isn't just from age, born to 8. We also have generational money
Mm.
wounds that are pulled forward. So we've got a double whammy going on. And we have to begin to look at how is it showing up in my body? Because I know if you do embodiment work, you know that people can contort their bodies to make themselves whatever they desire or whatever they think they want in the world or what they've programmed themselves to be. So women have this thing where we play small, right? And if you think about it, our bodies are just now responding to whatever is inside, and we have to begin to look at that. How do we even stand? How do we walk in the world? I walk out in this beautiful park that we have here, and I notice sometimes when I'm walking, I might just be kind of like strolling along, and then I see a person and I'm connecting with them, and then I walk in a different way, like more powerful and more confident. And I recognize those things, and I think that's very interesting that we do that with unconsciousness. But when we become aware of how we do that, we can begin to shape how we heal our money wounds, our wealth wounds, and become the person that we say we want to be. We be that person now, and then it shows up in form.
Yeah. And we spoke about that, didn't we, before coming online, about just the fact that I spoke about this in my last podcast episode, that we are the effect, right? We're on, and so often we are waiting when I have the money, when that situation changes,
Mm-hmm.
when I get the pay rise. There's always
Mm-hmm.
going to be this when and this if. And so many of us, we wait. And I
Yeah.
can recognize that, I think you mentioned as well, being more in your masculine. And I can
Mm-hmm.
recognize that in even running and growing a business over 15 years, that I could see that I was more in that. And you spoke initially about this receptivity, and for women and for men, in opening up that channel of receptivity. So how can we start to allow more of that in, just even in the little ways? We spoke about conscious moments when we can disrupt the pattern and when we can change the way we've been doing things. And how important is that in this process?
So one of the things that I created was a meditation. It's a 5 minute meditation that I do myself every morning. It's called, and I think you said this somewhere in this podcast. Everything is working in my favor.
Mm.
So setting that intention. So we have to begin to be conscious enough to start setting intentions when we arise in the morning, because we are such creatures of habit. And with the things that we have in our world today, with that busyness, with falling prey to the dogma of you've got to go hustle, hustle, hustle. And then we add on top of it that we have so much data coming at us, because this is a beautiful thing. I mean, I'm a AI fanatic right now, but it's also there to help me, not to make my life more complicated. But we have so much data coming in at us,
Mm.
and our minds sort and filter through that thing called the reticular vision. So if I begin to rewire my reticular vision and expect good,
Yeah.
then I will see good, because it's happening through us, not to us. So part of the problem is that this mind is only responding to the things that we have programmed it to do. We're little AIs right here. We're training it. So I created that meditation because it's so important to set your day that way. So if you listen to it in the morning and then you step on the Legos that the kids left out as soon as you get out of bed, you walk out to the coffee machine and it doesn't work, then you go out to the garage and the car has a flat, you can spiral out down, or you can spiral up and say, everything's working in my favor.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing a wreck that I could have been caught up in that would have made me later or that saved my life. The fact is we don't know, but if we really get clear about that mantra, if you will, that everything is working in my favor. The other thing is really begin to expect good. Because if we don't do that, our reticular vision is going to default to whatever it is that we've been expecting up until now. I call it building a file folder full of evidence that the truth, the new truth that you want to see, because we have a big old file folder of all the stuff that we say we don't want to see. So it's not as if we're going to just be able to burn that in 5 seconds and start on the new folder. We have to build a folder full of evidence that I do see unexpected good. But what's interesting is when we set that intention, I have heard story after story that, oh my gosh, an insurance check showed up that I didn't even know I filed a claim. Somebody came to my house and dropped off $3,000. What? They didn't know why they did it. But the fact is that if we begin to expect unexpected good, it shows up. But if we don't, and we're looking for something else, that too will show up. So I love the idea. I have another thing called a divine wealth activator, because it just keeps you on track of expecting good, expecting unexpected good. Because as you said, we have a job. We're so locked in to this is where my money comes from. When the fact is if we open up to unexpected good, holy cow, there's so much out there, but we're missing it because our reticular vision has blinders on that says, this is the only place I get my good.
Yeah.
And if you believe that, that's exactly what you'll receive.
So you're starting to become aware and in a way showing evidence to your mind that like this is where I'm seeing good show up in these other ways. And this might not even be in the form of money, right? Like it could just be
Right.
abundance experience, somebody gifting something
Right.
to
Yes.
you. So
Yes.
it's really opening yourself up to see
Right.
more possibility. And that's getting us out of the logic, isn't it? Of like this is the way, this is the one
Right.
channel that I
Right.
receive. I mean, I have a mantra that like God is my source, like God is the source of my
Right.
abundance, and it flows
Right.
to me in unlimited ways
Yes.
through expected and unexpected
Right.
channels.
Right. Because that you've opened up the receiving channel to an infinite number of possibilities.
Mm.
Because when we narrow it down, that's all we get.
Mm.
We forget that we are actually in charge of our receiving channel. We
Yeah.
can we can turn it on and we can turn it off as easily as one or the other. But the fact is that most of us have it turned off to the point where we can only get these little tiny trickles coming. And the fact is that there's so much more available. And it's so fascinating when you start seeing and documenting and proving to yourself that all this unexpected good comes from so many different places, then it's almost like a game. You almost gamify your life and
Yeah.
say, oh my gosh, what am I going to see today? When you go
Yeah.
out with that kind of joy and curiosity and expectancy, oh my gosh, stuff just starts pouring in. It's amazing.
Is that kind of like when you're looking for a particular car, like you say you want to go out and buy a car, and
Oh,
then all
yes.
of a sudden you start seeing that car show up
Yes. Yes.
everywhere?
Yeah.
Right.
That's reticular vision.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
whatever we focus on expands.
Mm, mm.
So yes, it was years ago. I was noticed chocolate brown Lexuses, and I
Yeah.
thought, isn't that interesting? That all of a sudden they're everywhere. They didn't
Yeah.
just let them out of the showroom floor. My reticular vision said, "You want to see that?"
Yeah.
Because I had a feeling about it. It was a little cozy, yummy feeling. I didn't want that car, but every time I saw one, I got this vibratory energy inside of me that went, "Oh, they're so really cute." Right? So this is the feeling part of
Yeah.
creating, is if we begin to understand that this feeling energy inside of us, that's why I use the word vibrate. If you're just vibrating out there that this is the most joyful life ever, it's in your whole beingness, and you send that energy out, that electromagnetic energy
Mm.
out, and that is responding in kind. this is the beauty of what we live in, is this planet and this universe, is that it's just responding to frequency. We're
Yeah.
just all a bunch of energy and it's just responding to our frequency.
Mm.
So keep that frequency up because more good stuff's coming.
And it's that beautiful reminder, as you said, that we're actually the ones that can shift that in any moment. We're thinking we're a victim of life. Life is happening to me and I'm a victim of circumstance, but we get to tune that radio station to a different dial by what we're expecting and what we're seeing. And I love the way that you referred to that. And I guess it's easier in the small things that we're not attached to, isn't it? And when it's the bigger kind of manifestation that we're wanting to call in, like let's say it's a lot of money or it's a new job or whatever it is, and someone's got a bigger vision, it's much easier to manifest those little things like maybe a dollar on the ground or maybe a
Mhm.
car parking space or maybe somebody gifting you something. So, how do we support when we're working towards such a bigger dream that almost feels, and I know you like supporting, you speak about the supporting the nervous system to
Mhm.
feel safe in receiving that. So what about for those much bigger, those goals or those visions that feel almost too big to hold?
Well, so I really liken it to this old phrase that people used to say is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. So basically, practice in this circumstance is just being consistent and doing it over and over and over with the small things. So I remember back way, way, way when I was taking spiritual classes to become a minister, I we were manifesting parking spaces, right? So
Yeah.
you have to build your muscle, right? Your belief and your trust muscle a little bit at a time, because you don't start out with, I'm going to get $1 million estate, you know, in the first week, because you have programmed your mind for a very long time that you don't believe that you're worthy of that. So I would say to that is, once you go down this path and it starts snowballing and compounding itself so quickly, because it will, if you stay consistent with it, that I can create all of these things and I'm expecting this good and it shows up. The big things just come naturally. But in the meantime, you still want to be in that feeling state of, what would it feel like? So I also use the example of mini experiences, MINI, mini experiences. So for instance, let's say that your biggest dream and desire is to take a trip to the south of France, right? And you don't know where that money's coming from. I don't know when that's going to be, but you can do little mini experiences. You can go to a museum. You can go do a picnic with all French items and wine in it, and really
Mhm.
begin to immerse yourself in the feelings, because the feelings are the key to all of this.
Yeah.
And once because your mind, basically, I used to do hypnosis a lot. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what reality is and what you're telling it, but the feelings of your emotions tell your brain, this is where we are, this is what's happening, and literally it happens so quickly. And people think, well, that seems kind of, oh, I don't know, that seems too easy. And the fact of the matter is, it's easy, but it is so powerful.
Mhm.
So you do that on a regular basis, and literally, I had one client that did that, and somebody gave her a trip because they
Yeah.
worked at a radio station and they knew that this is what she was doing, and he had the ability to give that to her. I mean, it's remarkable, but it's the energy and the emotions and the feelings that create that. And as long as you stay in those feelings and those emotions, everything is possible. It's really quite remarkable.
It really is. And some would call it delusional. And I love this because I see that as just getting out of the illusion that that is what you're in,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Removing the illusion that you don't have capacity for that, for the magic, for the miracles
Right.
when you believe in it. And this really so much of this conversation has circulated around the fact and the truth that your frequency is everything, your vibration is
Everything.
everything. This is who we are, and that the abundance, the wealth, the desire, whatever it is, how can you be that now, embody that
Mhm.
now?
Mhm.
And we started with this, didn't we, in the conversation of like, and then life reflects that back to you. So, so, so beautiful. And it does get to be a lot simpler than we make it out to
Mhm.
be. But I think that as humans, we're so addicted to the hard that we think if
Yeah,
anything worthwhile is going to come in, we're
yeah,
programmed to believe that that has to come after the hard work.
right. Yeah, that's a program though. And that's all it is. But think of it as generational, not only for the last 100 years, but for the last 2,000 years. This is a masculine construct. I'm not here to bash men. I'm here to say that that is a linear modality. And what we are is a flowing, receiving feminine energy on the planet now. The Gaia, the planet Earth, is a feminine energy, and it has a certain frequency and a vibration. And if people ever say to me, well, I don't, that's woo woo or whatever, I said, tell me if you've ever walked into a room and there was somebody, and this energy, there's somebody there is so dark or negative, or you just don't even want to be around them. And they've never spoken a word to you. You don't have a conversation. You just know that that's not something you want to be around. Well, we are the same person that maybe is doing that. So we have to be reflective of that. Or maybe we're just the light that walks into the room. Because when you bring light into a room, it shines away the darkness. And you will see people like that actually leave because darkness doesn't want to be around light.
Mm,
And the
mm,
fact is it's not good or bad. I'm just saying there's low vibration and high vibration. We
mm.
live in a world of duality. And if we really pay attention to what our participation is in that, then we keep raising our vibration, and we will bring that level to the planet, and we
Yeah.
will all be holding hands walking home.
Amen. Amen. And I think that as women to remember, and I think that's why it's so important to have leaders and teachers like you, Debbie, that are just reminding women of their power. And we've been that before, and the
Mm-hmm.
masculine is now dominated, and this is the time of remembering, isn't it? This is the time to remember why you're here, and that you taking care of yourself in this way and your frequency and remembering your power is what is going to serve the awakening of humanity that we're moving through. Like that is,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like if you're listening to this podcast and there's a resonance and it sparks something in you, it is because you too have chosen to come in here and participate and likely lead the way of this
Mm-hmm.
movement of bringing back the divine feminine, which I just think is such a worthy pursuit in this lifetime. So thank you
I
so
want to I
much.
want to touch on one thing that you did say on your podcast that I think is so important for all the listeners, especially the women, is that, and in the Bible they say where two or more are gathered, right? That it really is the collective, so that when we meditate, when we hold space together, the power is exponential. So just by having teaching, as you said, teachers like you and teachers like me and teachers all over the world that are doing this work, we hold space, and with that collective, it's this whole vibration is up leveling in a way that I'm so excited. I'm so blessed that I live on the planet right now. I've been waiting my whole
Yeah.
life for it. So
Yeah. And
so
I
thank
can
you
just,
for having a tribe, by the way.
yeah. And I think that it's so beautiful, isn't it? Because I think also when you awaken, you can really feel alone. When you start to open your eyes and see things in a new light, and maybe you're looking around at people in your life or in your circle, and it's just they're just not there where you are, and there's no judgment around that, but you can feel really alone and really isolated. And it's just a beautiful reminder that yes, some things will fall away, some people in relationships will fall away because your frequency is shifting, but there is a whole nother tribe for you of those women that connect with you, that see you, that are here to serve with you. And I do honestly believe that there's no greater gift. There's nothing more potent and powerful than being around other souls who have also said yes to coming in at this time, and brave souls, right? Brave souls. And I just think that's such a beautiful gift. And I love that we can connect from the other side of the world and
Oh, that's
share
crazy.
share our voice and share this channel. And I'm so, so grateful for you being here, Debbie. Please let us know how people can find you, reach out to you. You have a free offering as well. So can you speak a little bit about that?
So my website is thedebbiedobins.com. So I am the Debbie Dobbins. And you can actually get my book for free and a couple of other gifts on the website. And then I do have the Divine Wealth Activator that I shared about a moment ago with some mantras and some meditations included with it. And it's, I don't know, it's like $27, but I'm giving it to your audience for $1 and with a coupon code called wealth. So, but all of those are just beautiful opportunities to get on the path of really realizing that your inheritance is wealth and abundance because we truly are, and just to support each other. And I'm just so blessed to be on this with you and share in a, like you said, in another country. This is just so beautiful. I
Mm.
used to teach leadership going to down under. I was in Australia, all over Australia and New Zealand, but this is just even more fun because I don't have to get on a plane. So
Yeah, I know. We can just do it from the comfort of our own homes. It's beautiful.
exactly.
I think I will put all those details in the show notes as
Yeah,
well.
that's fine.
But finishing on that note around, you mentioned about it being a practice, and I call
Yeah.
this soul work. I think you call it holy
Mm-hmm.
work. Let's just,
Mm-hmm.
really emphasize that of how important, because we've been conditioned for so long, maybe 30 years, maybe
Mm-hmm.
40 years, maybe 50 years, the
Mm-hmm.
practices, like the somatic
Mm-hmm.
practices, like the meditation and the activations or the hypnosis, like
Mm-hmm.
it's so important, right? In
Mm-hmm.
rewiring those neural pathways and
Yeah.
recoding our nervous system to know that actually it is safe for you to receive this level of abundance that is your birthright.
Yeah.
Mm,
Absolutely.
beautiful. So all of those details will be there. Thank you so much,
Thank
Debbie.
you.
This I
Thanks,
have loved this
Amy.
conversation. I feel like it's one I want to go back and listen to and take notes. And
Yeah.
yeah, so please, if you're listening to this, share it with someone that you love, someone that you think will get benefit of this because this conversation is
Mhm.
so important to bring awareness to. So thank you so much, Debbie. You're wonderful.